Hello and welcome back, Ruby Tribe. We are so happy that you have been following us diligently this week in resetting your energy. I just pray that you feel blessed by Alyssa just coming and sharing all of her amazing knowledge with us. I know some of these things, I feel like we should know them. It should be common sense, but for some reason it's not. And Alyssa, you have just such a great and helpful way of bringing it back as a gentle reminder and encouraging me, anyways. I felt super encouraged to apply these things in my life on a more consistent basis. And I feel like I'm a pretty healthy person, but I always feel like there's something I can be working on. And I also feel like because I think I'm pretty healthy, sometimes I make these exceptions, or I think, oh, I can do this and get away with it, but then it catches up on me. And one of the things this year that I think have caught up on me is my movement. And I know a lot of ladies are going to relate to this because what happened is everything went online during COVID. And for me, I went from standing up and teaching in a classroom and moving around all day to sitting in front of my computer and working on a computer all day because all my students were online. I was online. I think my one saving grace is that I got to teach a dance class online, which was really, really fun. And it got me moving at least 3 times a week. So with that being said, movement can be a huge challenge, especially when we feel a lack of energy and motivation. So what can we do today to reset and get more movement in our lives?
Yes, it can be a challenge. And I chose the word movement instead of exercise for a reason, because I feel like exercise can have a really negative connotation to it. Sometimes like it's a chore, it's something that we have to do. And yet I feel like movement isn't really an exercise. If you look back to past generations, they didn't exercise because their daily life had movement in it. They didn't need to exercise. We were created to exercise. We feel better, we function better when we are moving our body. So our body movement supports both our physical and our mental health. So as a holistic nutritionist, I consider everything. We talk about food, we talk about movement, we talk about stress management, we talk about sleep, we talk about spiritual life, because all of those things are part of our health. And so we can't ignore pieces of them and have that overall thriving life that we all want. I also don't think it has to be complicated. I really love adding in movement into our daily life as much as possible. So with COVID, I actually found it okay because I'm one of the few people probably that loves to exercise or move at home. So I have videos that I do, I go for walks. So for me, it was just making sure I did that, but it was an okay shift for me. For a lot of people who had the routine of going to the gym, it was really difficult because even just setting up that habit can take a lot of work. And when that's disrupted, then you can feel really lost. So if you feel like you've been a bit lost, we'll talk about some simple ways to add in movement, but I also want to talk about the why, because I think that's important too. So there's this really neat neurotrophic in our brain called BDNF. So it's brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And so this is something that's really important for our brain. It's produced in multiple regions of the brain, but it's also produced in the hippocampus. So the hippocampus is one area of the brain that's really hard hit with Alzheimer's. That's where our short-term memory is. So that's often why you'll see short-term memory go first with people with Alzheimer's. So BDNF, what it can do is it's like Miracle-Gro for the brain. It's a simplistic overview of this very complex protein, but that's essentially what it does. It can help grow connections between neurons. It can help grow new neurons. It's very powerful. And the way you can get it is through moderate aerobic exercise, which is like a brisk walk or an exercise class, anything that really gets your heart pumping and your muscles moving. So it's a very powerful substance in the brain, and all we need to do is really exercise to access that. And another interesting thing to note is that people who are suffering with depression often have low levels of BDNF. And if they go on antidepressant medications, those levels increase. So there's definitely a connection there to our mental health as well. So that is often why people will recommend exercise to help improve your mental health, because it can provide that Miracle-Gro for the brain. and can be really helpful in the early stages of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. So those neurodegenerative diseases, this is a way to help the brain to grow and to just really support its own health. So another reason why we'd want to exercise is to build that lean muscle mass. So why is that important? So if we kind of return to the blood sugar conversation with food, when energy goes into our bloodstream, muscle cells are the most efficient at picking up that energy. So the more muscle cells that you have, the more energy it can pick up out of the bloodstream. So we want to have that, consistent blood sugar usage. So having that lean muscle mass on our body just really helps with that metabolism. So it's going to help you balance that blood sugar overall. So we don't need to bulk up like bodybuilders or anything like that, but just having strength training in your routine. So as simple as having hand weights at home. You can even use your own body weight with like planks and different exercises. There's like rubber bands that you can use for strength training. These are really inexpensive tools to get, and you can use them at home at any time. And they just help you build that lean muscle mass that helps with your blood sugar regulation. It can also help with your overall metabolism. So it's a really powerful thing to build, is that lean muscle. Also, as we age, we tend to lose that muscle mass, and that's what can make it risky for elderly people, especially for risks of falls, because you don't have as much muscle mass. You start to lose it unless you're continuing building and challenging your body. So something as simple as walking is great. It's a wonderful, wonderful exercise. It can help with so many things. If walking was a pill, everyone would buy it. That's how great it is. So even as we're thinking of maybe as women entering menopause, just going for walks can make a huge difference to your overall health and your bone health, because as your foot hits the ground, it's creating this shock and reverberation up through your bone. That's signaling your bone to rebuild. It's saying, we have a challenge here, we need to be strong. So it supports that anabolic or building up process of the bones. So while our bones are mainly like built as we're younger, they are active throughout our lives. So you want to be in that building, always building that bone to have that strength, especially as you get into the menopause category. So I want to circle back to mental health a little bit, because I find this so profound. So I read this book, which I encourage you to get if you're interested in learning more about movement. It's called The Joy of Movement by Dr. Kelly McGonigal. And she is just a wonderful researcher in the US. She's done a couple TED Talks, you can look her up. But the subtitle on here is How Exercise Helps Us Find Happiness, Hope, Connection, and Courage. And if you read this, there's no way you can't feel that coming through the research. It's amazing. People of all different socioeconomic status, different ages, they all find that through movement. So some of the research in the book found that when regular exercisers were forced to become sedentary for a study for 2 weeks, that they became more anxious, tired, and hostile just from 2 weeks of being sedentary, which is, I think, a little bit shocking. And then there was a few other research studies where they showed that when people were required to reduce their step count, so I know some of us have a Fitbit or another product that counts our steps. So these volunteers in the study were forced to reduce their step count, that they became 88% more depressed and experienced 31% less satisfaction in life, just from reducing their steps. That's powerful. So other research in Nature, the journal Nature, showed that if you are only getting, say, 5,600 steps in a day, that's the level that can induce feelings of anxiety and depression and lower satisfaction with life. So the average American gets about 4,700 steps a day. So the 10,000 steps a day recommendation, which you might have heard, is not 100% rock solid in science, but you are well above that 5,600 step count that's associated with inducing those feelings of depression and anxiety. So just keeping track of your steps can make you more aware of it, and including movement in your daily life. So if we're coming back to apply this practically in our lives, I really invite you to look at where you can include movement naturally. If you're able to walk your kids to school, if you're able to walk to the grocery store or stores where you're doing errands, make that a part of your routine. That's natural movement. You don't have to go to another class. You're already going there. You just need a little bit extra time to walk. Same with being told to park farther away or take the stairs. If those are options for you, that's just another way to build in some more movement. I also encourage you to use it for social purposes. So I know during COVID, when we could only really be outside with people, I switched from meeting friends for coffee to meeting for outdoor walks. And that was so much more energizing and refreshing for me than sitting and having a coffee, which I also enjoyed. But there's also some research showing that when you walk with someone and talk with someone, you become more vulnerable and open with them, and you have a deeper connection, which Kelly talks about in her book as well. So that's just really interesting. You'll get to know someone more by doing a physical activity and chatting with them than you would necessarily sitting and having that coffee. Or you can get the coffee to go and then go for a walk and have both at the same time. And think about your family time, what you can do there. Maybe a family walk or bike ride, or go to the pool if that's available. There are different ways you can be active together without having to try and carve out that extra time to get to the gym, which I find can be tricky for people. So your challenge is pick something, some movement that you can include in your day, and you can let us know what that is, whether it's a walk to the store, or maybe a walk with a friend, or even doing an exercise DVD, whatever it is. Just choose something that you feel is doable and put that into your week.
Got jumping back in here with my movement. Okay, I'm here. Oh, movement it's something that we just don't think about incorporating all the time when we're sitting down at our computers. And I'm just excited that even something as simple as a walk is a good thing for me. And I just think COVID has made us all more anxious, more grumpy, more depressed, because we've been sitting on our butts because we've been shut in our homes. But fortunately, when the weather's nice, we can get out, we can get about. But in the wintertime too, I think that's my biggest struggle in these northern climates, as some of our viewers might be able to relate, not all of them, but I feel like we get shut in because of the cold. So just my biggest battle is fighting against the desire to bundle up because everything's cooling off and not going outside. So how do you find some ways around that? Do you get pretty cold in Langley or not?
Not as cold as where you are. Like we sometimes get down in the minuses. But for me, it's usually rain. So I'm a any weather walker. I have lots of umbrellas and raincoats, and I just go for it. I think there's a saying, I don't know if it's from Sweden, but it's from one of those European countries that says there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. So I feel like preparing to go outside, because if you have little kids, you know they don't care if it's raining. They have energy, they need to get out. They don't care if it's snowing. If it's manageable to get outside, just dress appropriately and get out there. I realize that minus like 30 is an exception. So try and find something in your home that you can do, whether it's up and down stairs, or I even like little bursts of movement. So if I'm working at my desk, then every time I get up to go to the bathroom, which is fairly often because I'm staying hydrated, when I come back, I do lunges back to my desk, and then I do 10 squats. So if you do that 5 times during the day, you've got 50 squats down.
I like that. It's just little intersperses of movement. I heard there was like a Spartan movement coach that talked about just incorporating like little lunges and sit-ups and push-ups throughout your day. I'll have to give that a try some more this year, especially in between sitting breaks. So you have something very important to share with us though today, and you're going to be jumping in tomorrow on Friday. We've got a really special live stream session with you. What are we going to be doing tomorrow? Can you give us just a little teaser?
Yeah, so we're going to be talking a bit about my upcoming course, which is Exhausted to Energized. And so what it is a 4-week group coaching program. And what it does is it walks you through building better habits and learning how to meal plan. So if you feel like you can see the overall concepts that we're talking about, you know you want to move towards healthier eating, but you don't know how, or you don't know how to start those changes, this is what I dive into. And I really help you see the science in your brain behind all your habits and why it's hard to change, and what steps do we need to make those changes so that we can set up new habits, which is the base of everything else that you'll be trying to do if you're looking to improve your health overall. And yeah, it just walks you through that, and it provides meal plans. So I'll talk a bit more about what's all involved there.
Awesome. And I also know that you've got some really extra tips for us to apply on Friday as well. If you come, if you have any other questions, anything that popped up on any one of those days, it's going to be so fun. I know I'm really looking forward to our session together tomorrow, because I learn so much every time I get to sit down and talk to you. And I feel encouraged. So I think that's the exact thing that you want to do as a coach, because I always want to encourage my clients, but you encourage me in my health. And I think that is a gift from God. And I know that there's women here that need this reset now, because we're here in October. We've got November ahead of us. So by the end of November, we can have completed this whole nutrition and health reset holistically together with you. So this is a pretty exciting journey. And I'm going to jump in with you too, Alyssa, because I see there's so much value in what you have to teach us. And even so day one, we drank more water. The next day, thinking about putting more greens on our plates, more fiber, and then sleep. Getting rid of those phones before bed and treating and setting up a good routine versus some pretty dysfunctional ones, which I know we can get into some bad habits. And then today, just get out and go for a walk. So today, get out, go for a walk, take a picture of you on your walk. I'll take one with my doggy when I go out with him today. And it's going to be so much fun. And no matter the weather, I like that. No matter the weather, I am setting a new mindset to that. All right. See you tomorrow. And the link to join us on the stream is going to be sent out in the email. So be sure, just jump in on the group. You'll be able to see in Facebook or on our YouTube channel. See you later.